Instinctively without even recognizing that, what's in front of them is Bencos.
Fee Bencosme. Bencosme.
Fe.
Fed. Oh, so
Okay.
it's French.
Well, okay.
Fed.
Are we on?
Well, we live, but I'm just saying we can still have the discussion. It's all right.
Okay. So, there's, well, you speak Spanish.
Yes.
You know there's Spanish
Poquito.
Un poquito, it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's a
You know
little
there's Spanish vowels, right?
Yes.
A, E, O, U. So
Mhm.
now put an F
Fe.
in front of E, and it's fe,
Fed.
which is Spanish for faith.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
wait a minute, it gets better.
We getting more information. Shit, I'm glad. I'm glad I'm recording. Good job.
It gets better. So my first name is in two words. It's actually Felisa, which is, think about it.
Felisa.
Yeah,
That's happy, right?
that's happy. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah,
He
so-
testing my Spanish. See, I know a little bit.
Faith and happiness.
So as you can see, guys, we done started a whole conversation. I didn't even do my introduction. I gotta do my introduction. Y'all know I gotta do my traditional introduction. Man, you can hit it. You can hit it. All right.
Okay, alrighty. I'll just sit back and
Yeah, just take a shot at it. Yeah, the ambiance.
the ambiance of this
Yes.
studio.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Guys, welcome back to the Culturally Distinct Podcast. This is your boy DJ KO. I'm glad you guys tuned back in. As you can see that we're having a deep conversation, and it's an delightful conversation. But today, we're going to try to enlighten you. So we're going to try to switch your brain up a little bit and make you think differently on how you've been taught. But before we get into that, I'd like to thank my sponsors and everybody that subscribed to the show. I appreciate you guys. Thank you once again. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend who haven't seen the show. Tell them you're missing out. You're missing out on a treat. It's like, look, I'm going to give you an example, all right? It's like for Christmas when you go and you have that gift that you didn't expect, and they open and it's like a Range Rover key. It's like that. Shout out to Range Rover.
Just happens to be my ideal car.
See, there it is. See, look, the energy is already working. See that? But guys, that voice in the background, if you didn't know, that is my today's guest. I think today's show is going to be a good one. You know, we always speak things into manifesting, and we always speak things into existence. So today's show is going to be a great one. So that person you heard in the background is Miss Fa Bencosme.
Oh, good.
Bencosme.
Okay, we'll take it.
That's my. Hey, y'all like my Spanish? Shout out to my Spanish. Come on, man. Y'all do that. Come on. There we go. Either way, how you doing today, man?
I can't complain. Life is good.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling happy, as is my namesake, and just real pleased to have been invited to be here today and in your Vibey studio. I love it.
Hey, shout out to the Bible Studio. Heidi. So the good thing about I like already, you know, most of my guests that I do have on, we do have a vibe before we even start. And as you guys could tell that we was having a vibe, was having a conversation. And you was telling me some interesting things for as how you was raised and where you was raised.
Yes.
Could you share that with the people?
Oh, goodness. Yes. So I was born in New York City. Shout out to Brooklyn.
Shout out New York. Shout out New York. Hey.
New York when it was very different than it is today. And I was raised in the Virgin Islands. Well, my mom was from the Virgin Islands, from St. Croix.
Okay.
And my father was from the Dominican Republic. And as I was saying to you earlier, I was raised literally and figuratively between those three places, those three cultures. I was about a year old when my folks decided to go back to the Virgin Islands. We stayed there for a brief time. We went to the Dominican Republic for a while, went back to New York. But by the time I was 5, we were living in the Virgin Islands, and that's kind of where I stayed for the better part of my childhood, my adolescence, right up until high school when we returned to New York City. I went to high school in Chelsea. That was the coolest experience. And then back to the Caribbean. I did university in the Virgin Islands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had the best of three worlds.
Yes, yes, I did.
So, because let me see, you had your Spanish background, which
Yep.
is in DR. You had your, of course, your New York Rican. Well, I can say New York Rican. Your what is that? New Yorkers that are from the islands.
Well, it depends.
Not Puerto Rican. You're New York Rican, but say
Yeah.
Dominican.
Those are the Puerto Ricans who end up in New York, or they're Puerto Rican descent.
Right.
Then they're considered New Yorkers.
Right.
Dominicans, the way they're referred to, the ones who are born and raised in New York City, it's a little disparaging. I wouldn't even want to repeat it. But, there's a term for them, too. Yeah, but we lived out in Far Rockaway, out in the suburbs, and I
Okay.
commuted into the city every day, 2 hours each way, back and forth. Did that for a few years. That itself was an adventure.
So you had because I visit USVI a couple of times
Yeah.
when I was posted up in Puerto Rico, and that lifestyle is one of those lifestyles that's like a calm, relaxed, tranquil lifestyle. And you came back to crazy New York
I know, right?
and went back to that. How did you like go back and forth like that?
Well, it was all my parents doing. So for whatever reason, again, I don't know why. I wish I knew why. They decided to take us all to New York for high school. Some of my siblings returned to the island sooner than I did. I was actually left behind for the last 6 months of my high school years. I think they were just tired of waiting for me to get over and done with. I don't know. But after I finished high school, then I followed everyone back to the island. And,
Okay.
just sort of slid back into things the way I had been accustomed to, I guess.
That's nice. That's nice. So, the reason why you're here, of course, I want the people to know why you're here. You have a book that's interesting to me, right?
Yes.
And the book is titled "You Are Not Your Race."
Yes.
So that intrigued me in itself. So, and by
Done
me,
purposefully.
right, and by me looking at you, right now, this is, I don't know. I'm just
This is what we do.
right.
This
Just
is
by me
what we
looking
do.
at you, right,
Yeah.
you look like a black woman, right? And we're going to get into the ethnicity
And I don't know what a
nationality.
black woman looks like,
Right.
but okay.
Okay. so that's why I wanted to get into the book. So first of all, inspiration behind that title and the book.
So obviously, it's part my own personal story, and just, what I've observed being in this body, coming up through this life, what I know about so-called race, what it is, what it isn't, and the way that I see it impacting very negatively, I think, the lives of too many people. And it was the summer of 2020 when we were on lockdown,
Yes.
and we were all glued to the TV because of, that horrible killing of George Floyd. It was in the aftermath, the ashes, so to speak, of those events and what was going on in the cities, that I felt like, okay, now is the time. Now is the time to do this. People need to hear this, because what I saw in those riots, I'm sorry, were a lot of people who just don't seem to have a very strong sense of who they are.
Okay.
Misguided, unfortunately, and really groping for something more. They may not quite know what that is, because unfortunately, God, quite frankly, has been removed from the public sphere, and there is a swath of people, a whole generation maybe, that is just lacking that knowledge. And I just saw that. I saw them groping, looking for something else to give meaning to it all.
So I know you said you mentioned the George Floyd incident, right? And around the country, a lot of people said that was a racial incident, right? Because he was black, officer was white.
So-called black,
Well, so-called black.
so-called white.
And we're going to get into that. So But the first thing when people see it on TV or was there in person, they saw that. They saw a man of ethnic descent, and they saw another man of a different ethnic descent, right, in this country. And we know the disparities of both in this country. So my first question, is race a real thing?
No.
How so?
It's not. It is not a biological fact. There is no race gene. There's no. I mean, we tend to speak of race in terms of how do I want to say this, in a racial pride kind of sense. But no, there's no race gene. There's no blood that is distinctively different from one person of one colored skin to another. In fact, we were all created from one blood, but that's another story.
Right.
Yeah, there's no race gene.
So I want to ask this question, right? Just so I'm trying to speak for the people that's going to be watching.
And the people who are probably going to beat me up if they see
Well,
me
they're
on
not
the
going to beat
street.
you up. This is your opinion. It's America, right?
Well, remember, there is a truth, and the essential truth here is that race, there's no biological basis for it. It is not a scientific truth. No matter what we're told, it is not a scientific truth. That everything else in the book stems from my experience and my opinion of it. But yeah.
So what do you call your definition of somebody of a lighter complected melanin, right? And somebody of a darker melanin that comes from a different geographical location in the world. So what would you call them?
Human.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know what else to call them. They're human, and they just happen to present or manifest in different skin tones,
Okay.
different phenotypes, different hair types, different eye colors, but they're human.
So you're looking. So let me. And this is a fair question. So you're looking at everybody how God looks at everybody.
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's more of a spiritual, I guess, ideology that you're looking at individuals.
Well, I guess you could say that, but I'm going to revert back to race is not a biological fact. It's not a scientific fact. So to say that we are only human is not an ideology. It is a truth, and a capital T truth at that, not a small t truth.
So I have a pushback.
Okay, push back.
All right. As I drink a little sip, as I sip a little sip,
Should I take a sip?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Look, we're having a conversation. It's all good. So, our kids are being taught certain things, and I talked about this before on the show, critical race theory, and how some groups are trying to take race out of the schools, or just say the history out of the schools, which maintains, the Civil War against the Confederates, white against black, race, a certain race against a country versus another country, right? What do you say to the teachers that are teaching our kids these ideals?
The whole conversation, the whole discussion around critical race theory has been so politicized. And so it's really difficult to tell fact from fiction as to what's really being taught in the classroom and what isn't, and what's being, what they're attempting to oppress and not. I mean, I don't know, but from what I understand about critical race theory, if it is in fact something that is being disseminated through the population, through the public school system, then it's a very dangerous thing, and it's an unfair thing to do to a child.
Because that's what kids are learning, and most of us, or if not all, we learned that way, and you use the term oppressed. So
I use the term oppressed because, that's how some people are saying that critical race theory is, being presented in terms of, oppressors and the oppressed. Again, I don't know for sure what's happening in the classrooms because we are so divided, we are so politicized right now. But what I do know about critical race theory is very concerning.
So I want to talk about that term oppression because in this country a certain, what would you call it, not race, a certain group
A certain
group
a certain set of
class.
folks. A certain set of folks. It depends on what we're talking about.
We talking about being marginalized for as not getting what the other groups get, for as we could look at history, we could look at housing, we could look at a certain type of education, we could look at discrimination in terms of just being who you are, right, on a certain side of town, right, across the tracks.
Yeah, it is a fact that there was a time in this country where legally people were prohibited from doing, certain
What
things.
people though?
Well, people of African descent.
Okay.
Okay.
Africans or African American.
Well, I don't like that term African American, but and I know a lot of people who might be considered African American. They themselves do not like that term, but people of African descent, and it's not everybody who is dark skinned that came from Africa, and
True.
That's a whole nother discussion too. We presume that because Africa looks the way it does now, that's the way it looked 2 millennia ago. We really don't know that.
We don't.
And yeah, I think the first how should I say it? The first hard evidence of humanity, Lucy's bone.
Yeah, a million years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. She was unearthed on the continent. And I don't know. Maybe there are some other bones out there somewhere that still need to be revealed. I don't know, but yeah.
Now,
maybe I'm getting into the weeds here, but
because all right. So the reason why I asked that question because you said you was from the VI, and by me having a lot of people don't have the opportunity to live in other countries, right? Because we're considered. People of melanin and color, we're considered as Americans, which we are. We're American individuals. But I noticed that in a lot of countries, there is a separation between a darker complexion and in a lot of countries.
Well, I've been to some 50 countries, and I don't know if we've been to the same countries. Yes, okay. We cannot deny that. Again, in this country at one time,
yes.
there were there was a legal separation of people. Yes, we can't deny that. But then we had the Civil Rights Act come along and change all of that.
Right.
So, we don't do that in this country anymore. We don't separate people legally by skin color or any other manifestations,
well,
physical.
We do it in other ways.
Maybe we do.
Yeah.
But let's not get off that subject because we have to come back to that. Yes, South Africa, clearly people were legally separated there according to skin color and this unfounded idea about race. Educate me. Where else have we done this in the world? I don't know.
So in DR is like that. Haiti and Dominican Republic, they share the same land space, but it's two different opportunity zones. Puerto Rico is one. Grenada is another.
Okay, let's go back to the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
And Haiti. Tell me what you mean.
Well, I think that since Haiti is mostly French, they speak French, and they are mostly darker complected individuals, right? And history shows that they had a Haiti rebellion against their slaves or whatever. And
Haiti was established in, I think it was 1801, 1803. It was the first free African republic in the Western Hemisphere. Until then, they had been colonized
Yes.
by the French, and unfortunately, after chasing them out, chasing the French off of
Right.
the island, and having some really, unfortunate, how should I say, bloodletting.
Yes.
Um,
All right.
Yeah.
You can say it. It's okay.
Yes, massacres.
Right.
And it was committed by not the colonizers, but the colonized. That there were, how should I say, there was a payback for that, and it was a scorching of their earth, of their land, of their land, and it
To this day.
and it has never recovered.
To this day, though.
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying, in most places that a person that has the darker complexion, and I'm gonna say of African descent, all right, because I don't know if they're directly from Africa, but I know it's some type of African descent, just by the way they look. It's always a separation. Now, I don't know who makes those rules, and we could go back to the political conversation. Why do certain people in power politicize race, or not even race? Because I'm gonna use your terms, politicize melanin.
So here is what I wonder about. Yes, I think it was around 1790, sometime around there, where we had all of these, botanists and other kinds of, scientific types,
Right.
starting this classification of people. Well, actually, maybe officially speaking, but it goes back farther than that. Again, unfounded, not based on any real science, any real biological study. I wonder, though, how many people are living that idea, and they continue to live it, even though they don't have to, and in many ways are, enslaving themselves.
Okay, I get it. Like a mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I could kind of agree with that, because everything is a mentality.
Yes. Yes.
I want to ask you this. In saying that, do you think God is looked at by certain race? I'll keep saying race, but by certain people because of their situation, or because of the situation that was put into?
I think, and that's an interesting question, and if I'm understanding the question, I think that yes, a lot of people have an understanding of God, and to put it simply, that God is a magician, and God is gonna swoop in and
Right.
solve all your problems.
Save the day.
Yeah, save the day if you just pray hard enough, or you just be good enough. And people who, for whatever reason, don't have their prayers answered in in a time that feels right for them, then feel forgotten somehow, and lose this connection to God that we all need. I'm not sure if that's
No.
where
That's
you
good.
were
That's good.
getting.
That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's good. So let me ask you this: what's the purpose of history? Because history shows so much information
Yeah.
and gives us so much fact,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what?
History is a funny thing, I think. And I know I could potentially contradict myself here.
Okay.
But history is a funny thing because, as we know, it's written by winners,
Yes.
and it's all based on an interpretation of a particular event. Any two people can look at the same event and walk away from it
Different experience.
having
outlook.
interpreted
Yeah.
it differently depending on their experience, their status, their whatever. Just list them. History can be a funny thing, and I think when we read history, we have to rely a great deal on common sense.
But what is common
And
sense? That's like one of those that's like one of those terms. Is like, what is common sense? Because, like you said earlier, a person might interpret it Totally, what common sense is, a totally different way. I think I said this in one other podcast. I think I brought up God. I was like, some people might think God is a slave owner, and the other ones might think.
Wow, I've never heard that one before.
Well, I'm
okay,
saying
that's interesting.
I took it back to the slave times.
Yeah.
Some people think that God is supposed to enslave certain individuals, and some people think that God is supposed to deliver us from slavery. You see what I'm saying? So the interpretation is different in how people's minds operate because of systems that were put in place for certain people. See what I'm saying? That's why I want to have this conversation, because the thing is, when you say race, as a a melanated sister, I wanted to know, when you just going about in life and you see a certain group of people doing certain things, right? What's the first thing that pops in your mind?
Uh-oh, that's a broad question. I just know this.
I had to set it up.
I just know this, that there are, even within these so-called monoliths, which were created, by the way, and please bring that up again. Don't let me get away from that one, because that I think that is something that's really important for people to understand. But even within these monoliths that were literally created by the government, there's great diversity.
Yes.
Yeah?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So when I see a certain group of people, I'm not sure what you mean, but when I see a certain group of people, what can I think?
Well, you could think a lot of things.
I could, but that I'm just not into stereotypes.
What the thing is, I get it, and that's
I don't do stereotypes.
I get it, and I think that's a safe answer, right? That's my opinion. All right.
Okay.
Can I have it, guys? Can I have my opinion? Thank you. I appreciate it. Shout out to the opinions. Okay. All right. Thank you. But I just think because the way, and I want to get into the politics side of it, but the way we look at things, we know what's going on, right? We know it. And when I say we know it, it's like a hidden understanding what we're talking about. You know what's going on, but of course, I understand.
Okay, so wait a minute. When you say we know what's going on,
yes.
Do you mean that there is this force out there that is working against a certain group of people because of their skin color, or are you referring to?
I'm gonna say it like this.
I'm
gonna say it like this.
Please be specific. Yeah.
I'm gonna say it like this. It's diversity, but no equality.
Again, there's so much diversity, even within these so-called groups.
But no equality.
I don't know. I don't know about that, because see, I know way too many people.
I'm talking about foreigners, not certain.
Yeah, I know.
groups.
I know way too many people who might be, who are members of the historically oppressed group that have achieved so much through hard work, discipline, and they did so no offense to anyone on what I'm about to say next, but they did so not because they were professional athletes, which is an incredible feat in itself. It wasn't until recently that I really realized how how small a number of
minute
people can actually do what professional athletes do. I didn't realize that until recently.
It's like 1 out of every 10 million people.
Yeah. So they are super special.
Yes.
So yeah, there are people who are members of the so-called historically oppressed group that have achieved tremendous things, and they've done so not through being professional athletes, not being on a reality TV show, acting all ratchet, a word I learned when I came. When I came to Houston 7 years ago.
Shout out to being ratchet.
I love that word. They're not music moguls or entertainment moguls or anything like that. These are people who achieved their status through science and exploration and creating businesses and growing large businesses.
Right.
You know, there's that Silver Coast on Maryland's shore. I don't know if you know about it, but hey, that's just one example. All over the world, there are enclaves of people of, you know, again, that's
Of what?
historically oppressed group
Say it of
that
what? A certain race?
that are just, I was never going to go there.
Oh, okay.
That are just, you know, materially, they're doing well. And I'm sorry, you know, it's all about, well.
But I'm
it's
not
all
saying
about green.
I'm not saying that everybody is, you know, is
But that's
not
the
succeeding.
but that's the way our, and you know, forgive me, but that's the way our provocateurs, that's the nice way to put it.
The media, basically.
Well, them too.
Yeah.
I'll put them under that umbrella. And the, you know,
Government.
the race hustlers. You know, that's how they would like us to see it.
I get it. So what's your outlook on politics?
What do you mean?
So it's a broad question, right?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Do you think that certain politics are for certain groups in terms of class or in terms of ethnicity?
Well, clearly there's this idea that, you know, and let's just be honest.
Be
you know,
honest.
Let's just speak clearly. There's this idea that Democrats are for, like, let me set it up differently, that Republicans are for the so-called rich and white, well, the rich and so-called white, and that Democrats are for, you know, everybody else, the downtrodden, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah, our politics are set up that way. And unfortunately, a lot of people, you know, buy into that. I think, in my humble opinion, you know, we have a country here that was established on this idea that, you know, anyone, well, before I even go there, it was set up to preserve our innate God-given rights.
Supposed to.
Yeah. Okay, and we diverted from that a little, but we corrected course, and here we are now. And I do see our more conservative friends on, you know, on the conservative end of the political spectrum. I see them trying to uphold those values.
Can I ask you a question?
Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
And I see our friends on the more progressive side. I don't even want to call them liberals anymore because, yeah, but the ones on the more progressive end of things, I just see them layering and layering and layering and creating these rights and laws and statutes for things that, you know, we already have and have already been secured in, you know, that very simple document called our Constitution.
So, can I ask you, what are you?
Well,
As far as in terms of, what is that, group?
What's my political philosophy?
Yes.
Ooh.
Why I asked. I had to ask permission first. I didn't want to just say what it, you know.
I'm conservative.
You're conservative. Okay, so you're
Yes.
all the way right. Like far right.
No, I wouldn't call myself, like, you know, I think the media brands them alt-right, and even that's unfair. I mean, yeah, they might throw me in there because I'm not, you know, on their side.
Okay.
So they might brand me as alt-right. No, but I'm conservative, so I am, yes, right of center.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked that question, because you said something earlier. You said mentality, right? Certain people, and I'm not saying that you're wrong or right. I'm not saying I'm wrong or right. I'm just saying when you.
But I am right.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
I couldn't resist that.
Yeah, I just set you on
It's
point,
just
right?
my opinion, but it's the right opinion.
I'm just saying because a lot of people that look like you might have a different outlook towards it, And I don't know if they're willing to have that conversation like we're having that conversation. You see what I'm saying? Like when in terms of the word race, it doesn't even exist. People gonna be like, okay, what is that? What do you mean by that? They're gonna say, okay, you're a black woman. You're like, no, no, no. You'll correct them, right? And then y'all gonna have that dialogue.
I don't know that I would correct them. I would say I don't see myself through that lens.
Okay.
I don't see the world, and thus myself and others in it. I don't see them through a racialized lens.
Okay.
But it does take hard work. It takes hard work.
It
to
does.
Do that.
How long have you had this ideal?
I don't know. That's sort of like asking me how long have I been in my skin.
Okay.
You know, let's say this.
Come to the understanding of knowing, the awareness of it.
So, like most children, I think I grew up unaware of the fact that, my mother was dark like you. But, yeah, I saw it, but it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't register. It didn't mean anything. And my father was on the opposite spectrum. So,
Yeah.
But, that didn't necessarily mean anything.
You didn't see color.
Yeah, but I think a lot of children don't. And it isn't until someone says to you, hey.
Yeah, that's true. I believe that. They did a study of that. I forget the name of the study of the race of the color. And color is taught.
Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to do in schools now.
Yeah.
And we're saying, when I say we, I'm including myself in that. So let me not do
It's
that.
okay. That's all right.
They're saying that in order to create this racism-free world, we have to teach racism. And I don't know. That just doesn't make any sense.
I never think about it like that.
Yeah. We have to teach it in order to undo it. I totally disagree.
Oh, I never
with
thought about that.
Yeah, but that is what is actually. That's what happens through critical race theory. From what I understand,
We have to teach race in order
we have
to
to
understand.
teach racism in order to create a race-free world. Now, there are some people who are, like me. They're willingly giving up ideas of, whiteness. I'm going to relinquish this idea of whiteness so that we can, come to this place where everyone is just seen as human. And these are people who might consider themselves critical race theorists, or
Right.
they embrace the idea. But what they don't realize is that what also happens with critical race theory is that they're sort of turning it around on its head and saying, okay, there was past racism, we've got to make up for that, so we've got to teach racism now in order to, prevent racism
Right.
in the future. It doesn't make sense to me. What you are doing is instilling grievances in young people. You are putting a weight on their shoulder. You're asking them to always look at the world and measure and interpret everything
Right.
around them through a racialized
And that's unfair.
lens.
That is unfair.
It's very unfair.
They putting them either here or here, and you got to make a choice.
It's a terrible thing to do
it
to a
is.
child.
So let me ask you this: the purpose, your purpose of the book, and what do you want people to get out of it?
My purpose was really to combat critical race theory.
Okay.
That really was the whole purpose of it. It's my gift to the world and, this crisis, as I see it, and I think a lot of other people see it. It's my gift to the world to do my part, something in addressing this issue that if we're not careful, it's going to tear us apart. And maybe we do need to be, maybe the whole thing needs to implode in order to kind of come back to center. I don't know. But yeah, and I also wanted people, because we don't teach it in school, and we should. And I think that, the powers that be have an interest in not teaching the fact that there is no scientific biological basis to race. There's no interest in it. The power structure, the people who benefit from who benefit monetarily from keeping this idea out in the ether. No, you know,
Okay.
they don't want people understanding.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, you saying they. I keep saying. I'm saying they too.
I know, the boogeyman.
And that's the thing. You know, the thing is, I think having these types of conversations of better understanding, because if somebody would have just said, "Oh, this person doesn't see race," I'd have been like, "What?" Had that conversation, because a lot of people that's going to look at it, they're going to say the same thing. So I'm glad you came on the show to clarify that.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it was a great delight. And
Has it been an hour already?
It's been an hour.
Oh my gosh, I could talk for another hour, but that's okay. It's been a delight. It has been.
And the thing is, I want to probably bring you back on for a part 2 with someone else that, not a debate, but has a stronger opinion on certain things. You know,
Yes, yeah.
and somebody that's of a melanin color. I can't say race around you, so you know. So that road is prohibited while you're
No,
on the show.
it's not
right?
prohibited. You get to think as you like, but or as you think is right. But I'm always going to remind you, your understanding is on faulty. It's on faulty ground.
So
Yeah.
I have a last question for you. You ready? What, it's going to be a tough one now. You ready for it?
Oh gosh,
What color is God?
God has no color.
Okay, I'm just testing
And
you.
I think that there is a reason why we really don't know the color.
I think I asked that question wrong.
Okay.
I should have asked the question like this.
What color is Jesus?
No. If God had a favorite color, what would it be?
I don't know. maybe one part is one part is one part is another one. Hey, look,
It got to be one color.
we were created in His image,
Right.
And I, for one, do believe that He spit us out in all these different tones and
Yes.
hues and
On purpose.
And on purpose.
Yeah.
You know what? To teach us how to love.
That's right. That's the ultimate. And we're going to look. See, I'm in the show on that because that word right there in itself, love, conquers all. Supposed to.
It sounds hokey, but it's
It's
the truth.
Right. That is.
It's the truth. And yes, He made us this way because He knew we were going to be having these squabbles. And,
It's up to us to get it together.
it's up to us to get it together.
So, Fa, how can the people find you? How can they find the book? Where can they order the book? If you're on social media, how can they find you?
Okay, so the book is on Amazon. You can just, Google "You Are Not Your Race." I'm on Twitter. My last name is a little hard for for folks, but BENCOSME_FE. I've been trying. I don't really understand social media that well, so if there's anybody out there who can help me with that, please call me. I've been trying to trend, I guess, hashtag "You Are Not Your Race." I wonder if listeners were to search that on Twitter, if they'd find it. Same thing on Facebook. I don't know. Again, I don't really have a grasp on social media. I'm still working on it. But Amazon, you can definitely Google it.
You Are Not
there.
Your Race on Amazon.
Yeah.
So the thing is, on social media, I'm gonna tell you it's quick, 2 seconds. All you gotta do is say I am not of any race. It's gonna start trending right there. Boom. I'm like, what is she talking about? And then you hashtag, you are not your race, and that's it. Boom.
Yeah.
On every outlet. So,
Yeah.
well, guys,
Well, visit my Twitter page and tell me what you think of
I
the
will.
things that I've done there.
I will. I will. So, guys, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is the Culturally Distinct Podcast. I hope this conversation helped you guys out a lot because it helped me out a lot. Just get some understanding. And one more time, give the people your social media and where could they find the book?
Social media at Twitter, BENCOSME_FE.
There it
On
is.
Twitter. On Facebook, You Are Not Your Race. That's the page. Where else am I? Same thing on Instagram.
it's
too,
no,
it's
that's
too much.
it's unique.
Ugh,
Remember that
I've got to come up with some.
you are your
quirky
own fingerprint.
thing. Yeah, but I want people to be able to
Find you, right?
me.
I can't spell that. Look.
I can't find it.
We're gonna make this book New York's bestseller. Okay. Make sure you go to Amazon, find it. You are not your race. Guys, this is the Culturally Distinct Podcast. Remember, I love you guys, and you can't do nothing about it. Peace out.